Oh, I have a great relationship with Adam Silver. I talk to Adam more than I talk to Kathy. Breanna Stewart talked about the great relationship with Adam Silver and how they love to have him at the table. Nafisa called. All of these ladies was talking about, we love Adam. We love Adam. Adam done left they damn Instagram messages on scene too. He ain't respond.
He ain't respond. He literally left them on red. That is honestly the absolute best, most accurate way to describe the situation that just unfolded with the WNBA Players Association. And it's a situation that speaks volumes after months of public declarations about their supposedly close relationship with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. After Sabrina Ionescu went on record saying she talks to Adam more than she talks to her own WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. And after Breanna Stewart praised his willingness to sit at the negotiating table, Silver just made a move that shocked everyone. He took his entire operation and flew it straight to London. And let me tell you, he's not coming back anytime soon.
He ain't thinking about that no more. He ain't thinking about that no more, bro. Look at this, man. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver staying in London. He not even over here to help y'all. I thought he was gonna sit down at a table with y'all. What happened? Are y'all meeting in London? No, y'all at Unrivaled, being conflicts of interest and all this other stuff that's going on. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver staying in London to work on partnership.
This isn't just about a standard business trip or some routine international visit. This is about a commissioner who has decided he is completely done dealing with a league that simply can't seem to get out of its own way. While WNBA players are out there posting giant inflatable rats in front of NBA headquarters and publicly calling a groundbreaking media deal a slap in the face, Silver is currently across the Atlantic working on NBA Europe with FIBA. The message he is sending couldn't be any clearer if he had typed it up, signed it, and sent it via certified mail directly to the union's office.
CBA negotiations. He talked about this instead. He ain't lied. He talked about this instead. They say, hey, what's going on with the WNBA CBA negotiations? Well, when it comes to NBA Europe, and we're working with FIBA, but oh yeah, we're gonna get a deal done with the WNBA. Like, bruh, he was already off it. He was already over it. I'm telling you. I watched it. Here it says, man, Adam Silver says possible sovereign wealth investment in NBA Europe could change U.S. practices.
You have to remember what Adam Silver said just 2 months ago because the contrast is staggering. He went on record stating explicitly that he would personally ensure a deal gets done, that he was willing to sit down at the table himself if that's what it took, and that he was fully committed to seeing the WNBA through these contentious negotiations. Those weren't just vague platitudes or empty corporate speak meant to calm people down. Those were specific, actionable promises from a commissioner who, at the time, genuinely seemed invested in helping the Women's League reach that next level of professional stability.
He took his ass to London to work on deals that actually matter to him because y'all are playing games. Y'all playing games, y'all posting ratchet ghetto stuff on Instagram, taking shots like a bitter ex. It's nasty work what y'all doing. Y'all done nothing but push people away from fans to Adam Silver. No media coverage is covering Unrivaled. Unrivaled is tanking into left field in the worst way. I think right now you'd have to offer people money to watch them play 3-on-3.
Fast forward to today, and the picture looks completely different. Silver's schedule for the next 2 weeks is packed with meetings in London about potential sovereign wealth investments in NBA Europe. He's not clearing his calendar for WNBA CBA negotiations. He's not scheduling sit-downs with the Players Association to hash out details. He's not even addressing the massive conflict of interest situation with the new Unrivaled League. Instead, he is laser-focused on securing Middle Eastern money for a massive European basketball venture that could fundamentally change how the NBA operates globally for decades to come.
Keep it real. Y'all messing up free agency. You know what I mean? Like, everything, all of this is messing up the whole get down, man. And now it seems like WNBA, if a deal gets done, WNBA free agency is going to push into March Madness, where we normally laser focused on the NCAA tournament. and seeing the top prospects that are about to come into this league compete and build up momentum and interest for what teams they land on. And now it seems like this is going to take away from that, man. Let's check out.
When you look back, the timeline here really matters, and it tells a story we should have seen coming. In December, when reporters asked Silver about the status of the WNBA negotiations during a press conference, watch what he actually did. He pivoted immediately to talking about NBA Europe. He started talking about FIBA partnerships, discussing sovereign wealth fund investments, and explaining how business practices learned in Europe might eventually influence NBA operations back in the United States.
Yahoo Sports, man, these ladies been doing an awesome job covering this in terms of how the WNBA CBA negotiations is affecting free agency and a lot of the off-season business that is set to take place in the WNBA.
You brought up an interesting point that I didn't really think of until now. And look, this isn't detrimental. This isn't the end of the world. But you think about where women's basketball is right now, the W in the sport as a whole. So much of that is because of the attention that's being paid to this sport and the way that this sport is covered. If we're talking about CBA negotiations or free agency in the month of March, well, the NCAA tournament is such a wonderful, open door for so many people to flood into this sport. It's such a wonderful opportunity for so many of these athletes' stories to be told. You think about so many games that happen in the NCAA tournament, that might be the only exposure that certain sports fans have to women's basketball throughout the entirety of the season. I'm thinking back to that Iowa-UConn game in the Final Four a couple of years ago, South Carolina and Iowa in the national championship game.
The WNBA question? It got a throwaway line at the very end of his answer. Yeah, we'll get a deal done. That wasn't a commissioner who was just momentarily distracted by multiple priorities on his plate. That was a commissioner telegraphing exactly where his focus had already shifted. He was already mentally checked out of these WNBA negotiations 3 months ago, but the players and the public just didn't pick up on the signal he was broadcasting.
Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark in the national championship game. That was the #1 story, not in this sport, but in sports for weeks. These are moments where women's college basketball gets to take center stage, and we just get to talk about basketball and players and coaches and what these teams and athletes and coaches have accomplished. It's just it's just a pure love of basketball for 1 month. We get that to just enjoy what we see.
Yeah, this is taking away from that tournament time.
See on the court. Coverage is such a massive part of this game. Whenever we're talking about the legalese of free agency and a CBA and upcoming contracts, that kind of pulls the sanctity is probably a very dramatic word. I'll use it anyway. The sanctity of what we get from the NCAA tournament.
She made a great point there, man. All of this stuff takes away.
And really, why would they have picked up on it? They were too busy orchestrating Publicity's stunts to notice the ground shifting beneath them. The rat installation outside NBA headquarters in New York wasn't some organic grassroots fan movement that just happened to spring up. That was coordinated. That was players and their representatives making a deliberate statement about how they viewed the league's latest media rights offer. They said the offer of roughly $1,300 per game was an insult, a slap in the face, and disrespectful to everything they've built over the years.
Let me know what you think, man. I believe Adam Silver has checked out on the WNBA. He don't want to deal with these ladies anymore. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you think. This Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel.
Here's what that publicity stunt actually accomplished, though. It didn't gain them leverage. It pushed away casual fans who were just starting to pay attention to the WNBA and didn't understand the grievance. It created a prevailing narrative that the league is ungrateful and combative rather than growing and professional. It made major sponsors nervous about associating with a product that might come with unexpected controversy and public hostility. And most importantly, it signaled to Adam Silver that these negotiations weren't going to be conducted in good faith. You don't insult someone publicly, stage protests at their office, and then expect them to show up eager to help you solve your financial problems. That is simply not how professional relationships work. especially at this level. Adam Silver has been in this business for decades, navigating some of the most complex labor situations in sports history. He knows exactly when he's being used as a prop for leverage, and he knows the difference between hard bargaining and performative outrage. And he certainly knows when a negotiation has devolved into theater instead of substance. The entire Unrivaled situation just made everything significantly worse. Here you have a league that is supposed to be focused on finalizing a CBA before free agency starts, and instead, the biggest stars are launching a competing 3-on-3 league with significant financial backing. You have Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier sitting at Unrivaled press conferences talking about player empowerment while simultaneously negotiating with the WNBA for better terms. The conflict of interest is so blatant that it's almost impressive in its audacity. And what did those Unrivaled press conferences actually reveal about their strategy? They revealed that the players wanted Adam Silver at the table, literally. They left an empty seat for him at one event, labeled with his name. It was like some kind of symbolic gesture meant to pressure him or shame him into showing up, as if a billionaire sports commissioner is going to be shamed into attending a press conference for a competing league that's actively undermining his own organization's negotiating position. Silver saw that empty chair stunt, and he didn't just ignore it. He bought a plane ticket to London. That is not speculation. The timing lines up perfectly. Within 2 weeks of that Unrivaled press conference and the empty chair theatrics, Silver's team announced his extended stay in London for these high-level NBA Europe discussions. He didn't just decline the invitation to their table, he literally left the continent to do business elsewhere. Now let's talk about what's actually happening with these CBA negotiations, because the situation is far worse than most people realize. We are rapidly approaching March, and there is still no deal in place. March is the absolute pinnacle of the women's basketball calendar. That's when March Madness dominates the sports world. That is the one time of year when women's college basketball gets its biggest spotlight, drawing in millions of viewers. That's when casual fans tune in to watch future WNBA stars compete in the NCAA tournament, building the hype that the WNBA relies on for its draft. And instead of that spotlight shining purely on the game and the next generation of stars, we're going to have WNBA free agency news competing for attention. We're going to have contract signings, team transactions, and salary negotiations all happening simultaneously, while players like Paige Bueckers and Hannah Hidalgo are trying to lead their teams to Final Four berths. The coverage gets split, the attention gets divided, and the moment is lost. The narratives get completely muddled. The purity of March Madness as a celebration of women's basketball gets diluted by professional league business and labor disputes. This matters more than it might seem on the surface, because timing in sports media is everything. Last year's national championship game between Iowa and South Carolina drew massive ratings that rivaled NBA playoff games. Caitlin Clark versus the undefeated Gamecocks became the #1 sports story for weeks, not just in women's basketball, but in all of sports. That kind of crossover attention is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. It's the moment when people who don't normally follow women's basketball suddenly care deeply about the outcome. Those moments are fragile ecosystems. They require perfect timing, compelling storylines, and zero distractions to reach their full potential. Now imagine trying to build that same momentum while ESPN is simultaneously running breaking news chyrons about a Ja Wilson's new contract or Breanna Stewart's free agency decision. The casual viewer gets confused and overwhelmed. They came for college basketball excitement, and now they're getting professional league drama they don't understand and didn't ask for. The reporter who broke this down most clearly pointed out something crucial that the WNBA seems to be missing. The sanctity of the NCAA tournament is what drives so much of women's basketball's growth. It's the one month where the sport gets to be pure, no labor disputes, no salary controversies, no league politics, just basketball. Just athletes and coaches and teams competing for a championship. That purity is what draws people in. That is exactly what creates new fans. All of this operational noise takes away from that experience. And the WNBA is about to step all over it, not necessarily because they want to, but because they've mismanaged these negotiations so badly that there is now no other option but to crash into March. The CBA should have been finalized in January. It should have been a footnote, a quick announcement that the league and players reached an agreement. Everyone is happy. Now let's focus on the upcoming season. It should have been cleared off the deck long before the college postseason began. Instead, it's become a drawn-out saga that's going to bleed into the most important month on the women's basketball calendar. Adam Silver sees all of this unfolding. He understands the strategic value of timing, of controlling narratives, and of not letting internal business conflicts damage the broader product. That is exactly why the NBA's CBA negotiations, even when they get contentious, rarely spill over into playoff coverage or draft season. Silver knows how to compartmentalize, how to keep the business side separate from the entertainment side, so the fans never feel the friction. The WNBA hasn't learned that lesson yet. Or more accurately, the Players Association hasn't learned it. They are treating these negotiations like a public relations campaign instead of a business transaction. Every grievance gets aired on social media for likes and engagement. Every perceived slight becomes a talking point on podcasts. Every negotiating position gets litigated in the court of public opinion before it even reaches the bargaining table. That approach might work if you have massive leverage. The WNBA players simply don't. The league still operates at a loss. The massive media rights increase everyone celebrated is still just a fraction of what the NBA generates. The attendance numbers, while significantly improved, are nowhere near sustainable without the NBA subsidy keeping the lights on. The players are negotiating from a position of financial dependence, while acting like they're negotiating from a position of absolute strength. Here's what makes Adam Silver's departure to London so significant in this context. It's not just that he's physically absent from these negotiations. It's that his absence sends a clear message about where his priorities lie. The NBA has finite resources and finite attention to give. Silver has to allocate both strategically to maximize growth, and right now, he has decided that NBA Europe represents a significantly better return on investment than babysitting WNBA labor negotiations that should have been resolved months ago. Think about what NBA Europe represents to the league. It's a potential multi-billion-dollar venture that could expand the NBA's global footprint exponentially. It involves partnerships with FIBA, with major European basketball federations, and with sovereign wealth funds that have essentially unlimited capital to deploy. It is the kind of transformational project that could define Silver's legacy as commissioner for generations. Compared to that massive global vision, the WNBA's CBA negotiations are a rounding error on the balance sheet. They're important, sure, but they are not legacy-defining in the same way. Silver stated explicitly that practices learned from NBA Europe might eventually influence how the NBA operates in the United States. That is not a minor comment to gloss over. That's a commissioner thinking about fundamental structural changes to how professional basketball functions globally. That's someone playing a long game that extends decades into the future. Meanwhile, the WNBA is arguing about whether $1,300 per game is enough compensation. The scale difference between these two concerns is almost comical when you step back and look at it. Silver is thinking about reshaping international basketball and tapping into new global markets. The WNBA players are mad about per-game salary calculations. Both might be legitimate concerns within their respective contexts, but they are not equivalent in terms of strategic importance to the NBA enterprise. And here's the thing that the WNBA players seem to have missed entirely in their strategy. Adam Silver was their best advocate. He was the one person with real power who genuinely wanted to see the women's league succeed and was willing to pull strings to make it happen, not because he had to, but because he believed in the product. He saw the growth potential, the demographic advantages, and the cultural moment happening around women's sports. He was willing to invest NBA resources into building something sustainable for the long haul. But advocacy requires reciprocity. It requires the other party to meet you halfway, to negotiate in good faith, and to recognize when they're getting a good deal, even if it's not the perfect deal of their dreams. The WNBA players didn't do that. They took Silver's support for granted. They assumed he'd always be there, always willing to subsidize, always ready to step in and save the day no matter how they behaved. Now he's in London, and he's not coming back with the same enthusiasm or patience he had 6 months ago. The relationship isn't destroyed, but it is fundamentally changed. Silver will still fulfill his obligations as commissioner. He'll still ensure the WNBA gets what it needs to operate. But the extra effort, the personal investment, the willingness to go above and beyond, that is gone. The players burned through that goodwill with publicity stunts, public criticism, and unrealistic demands. The consequences of this shift will play out over years, not just the next few months. It means the WNBA will get less priority. When NBA resources are allocated in the future, it means expansion decisions will take longer to approve. It means media partnerships might be less favorable without Silver pushing for them personally. It means the league will have to prove itself independently, instead of relying on NBA support to smooth over every rough patch. Some people will say this is exactly what the WNBA needs. They'll argue that relying on the NBA was always a crutch, and that true independence requires separation. They'll say the Women's League needs to stand on its own 2 feet. Maybe, but independence without sufficient revenue is just poverty. The WNBA isn't ready to be fully independent. It still needs NBA infrastructure, NBA media relationships, and NBA financial backing to survive and grow. Pushing away the one person who controlled access to all of that wasn't strategic. It was reckless. It was self-destructive behavior disguised as empowerment. Watch what happens over the next 3 months. The CBA will get finalized, probably with terms that are better than what the players currently have, but worse than what they could have negotiated if they'd approached this differently. Free agency will happen during March Madness, creating exactly the kind of narrative conflict that damages both the professional and college games. Unrivaled will finish its inaugural season with modest ratings and lingering questions about its long-term viability. And Adam Silver will stay in London, working on NBA Europe, building something that actually excites him. The WNBA will send him updates on the deal. He'll approve what needs approving because it's his job. But the days of him personally championing the Women's League, of him sitting down at negotiating tables to push deals through, of him using his massive influence to open doors, those days are over. The players wanted independence. They wanted to prove they didn't need Adam Silver's help to get what they deserved. Congratulations to them. They're about to find out exactly what that reality looks like. And based on how these negotiations have gone so far, it's not going to be pretty. So here's the question worth asking yourself. Was it worth it? Was the rat installation worth alienating your biggest advocate in the room? Was the empty chair stunt worth pushing away the one person who could actually change your circumstances? Was the public criticism of a media deal worth sacrificing the relationship that made that deal possible in the first place? Because from where Adam Silver is sitting right now in London, working on massive projects that don't require him to manage egos and publicity stunts and unrealistic expectations, the answer seems pretty clear. He's moved on. The only question now is whether the WNBA can figure out how to succeed without him holding their hand. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to hear what you think about this power shift. And if you want more deep dives and breakdowns of what's really happening in the business of women's basketball, hit that subscribe button. This story is far from over.